You are welcome to the Organelles Concert and Seminar Series today. Um, of course, today's focus is different, but I will also, for some of us who are joining for the first time, and some who perhaps have not been around for a while, the Organelles Concert and Seminar Series is a space of creative exploration, engagement, and forms of artistic, discussion, exploration, and performances of works that speaks to the kind of project or initiative that we are focusing on, particularly the works of Africans, Nigerian, uh, as well as African diaspora creative space and ecosystem. So what we do in basic sense is we curate, document, and we critically engage ideas that speaks to uh, issues of music scholarship, music heritage, and performance culture, as well as music education in Nigeria, Africa, and beyond this, the shore of Africa. We're talking in terms of the global African diaspora. So today's focus is our writing session. By now, some of you will know that we've been pushing this agenda of writing, at least since February. And we are quite happy and excited that, yes, slowly and slowly, but people are, the kind of response we are getting is quite encouraging. Hence, we are intensifying our move as well as the ways in which we advance this work. So we are encouraged by your commitment, by joining us, and also we are also encouraged by the kind of energy we get each time we focus on writing, because focusing on writing itself is not, of course, some may say, oh, why writing? Are you teaching us how to write? No, we are not teaching you how to write. We are only inviting you for us to explore the common things that we know, that everybody knows so well, but in a way that can further garner or further generate more potentials, not only for us, not only for you, but also for those who perhaps, needs to know some of the things and I know and we know collectively. So this is one of the reasons we focus on writing sometimes. And as it is now, we are going to have writing session as part of our monthly schedule. Yeah. When that is coming on, definitely you get to know about that. But I just want you to know that it's going to be part of our schedule and our engagement as we progress in this color in this year. So today's focus, we are focusing on some of the issues we've discussed earlier, but in a different way, in a new direction, trying to further explore, taking advantage, of some of the things we have explored, how we have explored them, and how they can also, can generate more value, from this. Don't forget, writing is a means of communication. In the same way we have talking and but writing in this context is quite specific in the sense that we are advancing from scholarly idea down to business and down to other things that has to do with communication in real sense. And when I mean scholarly, I'm not limiting the idea of scholarly to publishing alone. You might be scholar and not publish, of course, but there are other ideas. You want to talk about project, communication of your project, communication of needs. You want to apply for grant, you want to communicate a project to an organization. So these are the kind of things we are also exploring, not just about research and publication. Those are all good. It's good to publish, but we believe that if we discuss writing as a whole, as a body of knowledge, then from the knowledge, people can decide to use the knowledge for whatever they want to do, either for publication, either for thesis writing, either for academic enterprise, or for business, for grant application, and other forms of communication that are afforded, that writing can afford us. Yeah, thank you so much. So for today's business, we are going to definitely go back to our dashboard. If you don't have that, I'm going to share the link to the dashboard with us again. And again, please kindly remember that this session, the writing session is not a seminar, it's a community session. By community session, I mean you are welcome to jump in at every time. So kindly, you are welcome to interrupt me. You are welcome to ask questions. You are welcome to raise important points that can further advance the, what we are busy with. So kindly note that you are welcome to, jump in at every time you feel is needed. So I'm going to share the writing board link with us again. Then we can kick on from the writing board, because the idea of writing is if you are not writing, you're not doing writing. So writing is writing. So we are going to do a lot of writing today, particularly going back to some of the models we've shared earlier and advancing them in practical sense. How do you start with a topic sentence? How do we advance topic sentence in different ways? There are many ways we can advance a topic sentence. And what is the role of language? Where and when does issues of language comes in this process? And apart from that, does creativity has a place in this process? Yes, of course, but we are going to see. You can be creative as a composer, as a writer, as a tech person. Creativity can also be deployed in your writing. So how is what we want to talk about today and what we want to practice today. So I'm going to share the writing board with us. So for some of us who don't, perhaps it's the first time joining the practical section. So I'd like to share that with you. Okay, I have it in the chat. I'm just dropping. You can join the writing board there. And you can see, as you can see, in case you have joined, every time we meet, even when we are not meeting for writing a session, you are welcome to visit the writing board 24/7 to contribute ideas, to bring out ideas, and to initiate ideas. It's open to anyone who belongs to this platform and who wants to join the platform. Also, while I'm doing this, I also want to quickly, before it escapes my mind, we have a space for another space where we talk, where we communicate ideas about writing, more like a group, but we don't call it a group. It's a lab that is attached to the Mountaintop University in Nigeria. So you can also join the writing lab via this link. This WhatsApp, it's a WhatsApp link. You can also join us there. It's free. We have great people across the world who have been part of this movement. You are also welcome to join us. Don't forget, the idea is to empower through writing. We want to see creativity. We want to see forms of engagement that's not only advanced, but also challenge initial ideas. Thank you so much. So I think for some of you, you now have the dashboard. You also have the link in case you want to, follow us back to back in terms of what we do. You can join the link there. Yeah. So today, let's quickly move. Let's go to the dashboard. First of all, I think that's it. Or before the dashboard, I will start with some of the ideas we have discussed, particularly recently, regarding paragraphing. The notion of paragraph and how it helps communication, the idea of communication, and how writing constitutes communication, and how it advances or helps us to express different ideas within different genre of writing. Don't forget, we have different genre of writing that we are going to discuss later, perhaps, but I will draw idea from different genre So for us to see that writing is not just something that is limited to academic thing. We write every day, I'm sure you know. Some of you, you do podcasts, some of you, you do Facebook thing. These are all forms of writing, but the question at hand and the concern for us is to provide a broad, a holistic foundation, I mean, solid foundation for understanding the logic and policies of writing in our everyday life. Okay, so this is the dashboard. First of all, in case you are there, good. So let's move to the last section where we see the new idea today. So this is the last, okay, we have some assignments here. Some people have dropped the assignment. Good. Okay. Yes. So this is how we operate for the writing session. We have a dashboard where everybody will migrate to the dashboard. You have the link there. You can click it. You can also join the group. So, but what is important here is that this dashboard is where we analyze, is where we write. So again, this is not a seminar. It's a hands-on community session. So what that means is that everybody is going to write. Don't be afraid. You are anonymous and nobody cares about whatever you do. Just be free. In fact, we are interested in your freedom. Be free to do whatever you want to like, you want to do. So our own business is to help you express that creativity, and the community can then help you to streamline or provide advice. That is the logic. That is the foundation. So don't be afraid to write. Yeah, don't be afraid. Yeah. So, and that's one of the things this platform provides. It's a free space to exhibit your creativity. So it's a free space here. Yeah, so you can do whatever you want to do within the framework and the logic of the organized seminar series. Okay, this is a dashboard, but let's go to the slide again. Yeah, yeah. Yes, so I'm sure some of you are used to this particular slide and example. So in the previous sessions, we started with the basics from sentence level. You know, like you said, one of the smallest units in writing is sentence. It's a sentence. That looks so simple, right? Yeah, it looks very simple, but it's not as simple as some of us, imagine it to be. So it's easy to talk, but when it comes to the writing more genre, there's a lot that goes into the process, even from the onset. So we start from the phrasing, sentence, phrase, prose, into discourse of structure, sentence structure. Then from sentence structure, we've moved into paragraph. What is paragraph? How you structure a paragraph for different value. In case you want to communicate different ideas, we've been talking about ways in which a paragraph is so powerful in helping us, express ideas, negotiate creativity, challenge assumptions, and also curate a systematic process of delivering a particular idea. So these are some of the things we've discussed in the past. And for some of us who are joining for the first time, all the videos and all the recordings of our past sessions are available on our digital platform, YouTube. They are free. I will share the link with you. You can always go back to them. Definitely, because I will reference some of the things we've done, like I just did. So you can go back to that platform. So let's start from here. Yeah, these are some of the examples we work on as we in the past. We discussed all this. So we are going to visit some of them today again, but in a different way to negotiate different value. Yeah. So just to show you things we've done in the past, from paragraphing structure and styles, we start with basic sentence, issues of structuring sentence level, what constitutes a sentence, how does a sentence work, how does it link into a paragraph, how do you, different ways we've done all this and how it connects in a particular ways that link in a different ideas. Then we walk into the ideas of construction. We had all these practical examples of which we are going to have today again. Then we went into specific musical examples, constructing a sentence and see how, ideas, it's like calibration. You are calibrating different ideas. And doing that also entails a type of creativity that operates at a level where you allow the creativity to flow on the one hand. You also find a way to, systematically guide and, project the creativity in the right form. Of course, people will say, oh, is it not just writing? We can write anytime. Yes, writing is simple, but it's not so simple as what we assume it to be. But it's easy. Don't be afraid. We just want to call your attention to in a way that in which you start thinking about it in an intentional way of engaging things. And that's the difference between some great superstar writer and some who are struggling to write. Whatever you are writing, this principle applies. If you're writing a novel, you're writing a grant application, even a basic curriculum, or you are designing a lesson note, writing is key to help curate, direct ideas, and negotiate forms of ideas also. So these are the issues we've discussed, of course. At paragraph level, we haven't done the article structure yet. We are going to, after today, we'll get to the article structure because we believe if the writing, if the phrasing is strong enough, then you can start exploring on your own how to manage particular ways, putting ideas together. And, it's like composing a huge symphony. You need to start with the structures, what constitutes development. I'm sorry for those. I assume we have many musicians here. For those who are not music scholars, pardon me for this example. Let's use some other examples. You want to cook you want to make a pot of soup, for instance. You need to get the ingredients right. You need to know the exact measurement for what you want to do. So that's the stage we've done. But intentionally, we are dwelling on a particular stage that is so crucial for writing process and meaning making, which is a paragraph. The paragraph is crucial. Our ability to manipulate the paragraph structure has a lot to do with ways in which we can communicate with the entire article, because the entire article itself is constitutive of different paragraphs that perform different functions across your writing. Either you are writing a book, a novel, a play, whatever, or it is paragraph. It cannot be the role of paragraph cannot be overemphasized. Then following that is the idea of language. Language is key. What do I mean by language? By language, you're not talking about I'm speaking Yoruba, Hausa, Efik, Ibibio, Tonga, Xhosa, Zulu, no, or English. What I mean by language is a metaphor for different ways in which different writing culture provide access to you into different forms of communication realm. Let me give you an example. If you work in the business world, there's a language there. If you work in the educational world, there's a language. There's an established language, institutional language. If you work in the academic world, there's an established language in terms of how you communicate. If you work in politics, you need to know there's an established language. So your ability to succeed or have access in these different layers of professionalism, whatever, is dependent on your ability to understand the language of practice. I'm sure, because this is also an institutional platform. Say, if you want to work in the scholarly or academic world, your first business is to learn the language. And that's why you read, you write articles, you do this. Yeah. So this is why we intentionally we are spotlighting the idea of language. This is why sometimes when you write a beautiful book, oh, I love this book, you've written all the chapters. To you, they are so good, they are perfect, and you send it to an editor or an article to a journal, and the time the response is coming back to you, you've seen almost everything you've written has been crossed. Oh, the difference for some of us, you know what I'm talking about. And you feel so hungry. You feel so bad. Wow, what's happening? Are they teaching me how to write? Sometimes you even make claim. You want to challenge them. No, it's because you don't understand that there's something called entry point, terms of reference, and that is the language of writing. If you go to a board meeting to present ideas in business sessions, you need to learn the language. And that's why we're talking about language today. So I'm going to stop sharing for a while. I'll come back to this particular slide. We can talk about some of the examples we've had in the past. But let's go to the writing board again.
Dr. Aya, please, could you please share the link again for the writing board? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, the link for the writing board, I'm going to share again for some of us who don't have it. Okay, I'm sharing the link again. This is the link to the writing board. Oh. Okay, thank you. So we are now moving to the writing board as soon as possible to get the work done today. Okay, I believe we are now working together here. So let's go back in time. So I'm going to use some of the examples we have here to explain the basics of some of the things we are focusing on today. The first one is the paragraphing again. Then the second is language. So we discussed paragraph structure, but today we want to add a bit of language into the conversation to advance what we have done earlier. So, sometimes some of us wonder, why can't I write on that magazine? Why is the editor not accepting my writing? What's wrong with me? But what's wrong with him, or what's wrong with her? I speak good English, I write well, fine. It's simply because we are not reflexive enough in terms of to know what the standard for every section require. Anywhere you belong in terms of writing, there are standards to everything. And every magazine, every journal, newspaper, they have a standard. So that standard is woven into the idea of communication language. Okay. So we started with the basic, topic sentence. I'm sure some of you will remember this. Topic sentence, or of course, I said this earlier, but I'm going to do it right now. In the context of research, something called thesis statement. Yeah. So we are linking now because we are using the idea language. It's coming in, so it's bringing it. So in research, it is, for instance, now for those who are specifically in the research business, there's something called thesis statement. It functions in different ways, but I'm using it now for topic sentence also for us to map the idea of language properly. So topic sentence, they start with a clear and concise topic, of course, of what you want to do. Okay, I want to do this, I do this. So it helps you, it set the tone for the rest of the paragraph. Don't forget talking about paragraph. What is paragraph? A paragraph is just a structure that embodies one idea. So it embodies only one idea. A paragraph is constitutive of one idea. You want to talk about the first three bars or the motif in Beethoven Symphony 5, you know, the motif in Beethoven Symphony 5 within a paragraph. So what you want to do is to lay the foundation, and then everything you're talking about in that paragraph is woven around that motif. Within that section, you are not going to talk about the B section, irrespective how closer they are, because the focus is the motive, and that's what will direct your creativity, how you open the layers into the ideas of writing. But don't worry, we are going to do this right now. So then you start with, it is always with a clear statement. This sentence should introduce it introduces the main idea or point you want to make. Don't forget, it's one idea per paragraph. Then the next level, which we have discussed also, is the supporting evidence. After you make such bold statement, like for instance, the first three note, the motivic entry in Beethoven Symphony 5 is evident, or is a typical example of creativity of the creative or potential or genius of Beethoven. That's the topic sentence. The first three motivic theme, or the thematic or the motives, the first three notes constitute the motive in Beethoven, in the Beethoven Symphony 5, represent Beethoven, creativity. That's a topic sentence, for instance. But the question, it does not stop. You don't stop there. So that in itself can stand, of course, is good. But your readers, they want to see how well you develop this interesting, ambiguous, and broad idea. Then the next thing you want to do is what they call supporting evidence. What is supporting evidence? You provide an example to elaborate on this topic, what you just said, Beethoven motives. Then the next thing you want to say is to provide an example. You want to show the reader that, okay, I'm not just talking, over the blue. I'm not just talking because I want to talk. Then the next thing you want to do is to provide evidence within that same, what the evidence is another context. I will get to that shortly, but provide evidence that helps you to, advance on the initial idea. Then the next one, after the evidence, you are still on the track. You are not done with the process. Then the next one is called analysis or explanation of the evidence in relation to the topic sentence. Don't forget. Yeah. So here you explain the supporting evidence to show it relates to the topic sentence. This is where you can provide insight, for instance, interpretation, a more in-depth interpretation of the evidence and context to help the reader understand the significance, of the evidence you just provided. You see, it's a layer. You are working in layers. You are drawing, in most cases, unrelated materials, but you are bringing them together to explain, to advance one idea of that paragraph. Then the next one is what we call the linking word or phrases. Of course, before that, I need to let you know that in most cases, you can have more than one supporting evidence. Your evidence could be a story, it could be an anecdote, it could be a literature, what somebody has written about Beethoven or that particular composition. It could even be, you could draw from different resources, depending also, there's a place of creativity here. This is where the creative intention comes in. This is where your voice soars like that of a eagle, because you are talking, you are writing from your own power, and your creative power is at play. And this is where the choice lies. In the composition, for those who, there's something called a creative choice and, aesthetic resources. So it's like having a palette of color and you want to paint something. You have rainbow, you have yellow, you have combination of primary and secondary colors. So the creativity you have, it was help your decision at a particular time. The same thing applies, in writing. So evidence could be two. It could be a combination of article, what somebody has written, or you're quoting the person directly, or you can just bring forth another story. But everything you are bringing at this moment, the focus is the action, the function of those materials. They are to help you unpack the topic sentence. Okay, then the next one is, again, you don't leave the topic sentence or the evidence hanging. You also need to unpack further, and that's where you now bring in what we call analysis or explanation. What does this mean? You explain the supporting evidence to show how it relates to the topic sentence on the one hand. This is where you can provide insight, interpretation, and context to help the reader understand the significance of that evidence. You see, you are now clocking, looping the two layers together. Then after that, we go into what we call the linking words or phrases. Linking word or phrases help to connect ideas within the paragraph. And this is simply, when I mean linking word or phrases, this is also another layer of creative performance here. Now, I haven't said this to you. I need to call your attention that many of the things you have taken in, they come into place here. What you have seen, perhaps you have done the research, you have been to the field, you have done a lot of reading before you are writing, or you have consulted archival materials, newspapers, different materials you've consulted, they come into play here. And because when you read those materials, you are also not just reading them for knowledge sake, you are also reading them for style. Yeah, styles of writing. How you say a particular word, how you manage a particular word. You're also reading for that. So you've learned a lot of resources. You have a lot of resources, at your disposal, at your fingertips. And this is where you bring them to connect your ideas. Because like I said earlier, you are working on different ideas, but your business as a writer, as a creator, is to bring them together to make sense. It's a composition exercise, Then so in the linking word, you have ideas on words like however, which function as a departure from initial idea, or in addition, which function as an expansion of initial idea. Nevertheless, which provide a contrast, and as a result, which provide a kind of, is telling your reader that a consequence is happening here. The consequence of initial idea is you want to explain. So these are basic things that we take for granted, but they are the key. They are the underlying factor of power that enables our writing to be meaningful to those who are reading. And this also operates at different levels, but these are the basics, for now. So let's move to the last one before going into practical examples. And I'm going to allow you to, very soon I will invite you. We are going to do this together today. It's a practical section. Yeah, then the next one is link, okay, cohesion and unity. Of course, some of the things that you have under linking word or phrases also applies in this section. So, but we are going to work on this. These are some of the issues we are going to explore today. In relation to language, how you say it matters. Don't forget, how you say it matters. It's the same thing you want to say, but the ways in which you bring it to life, you explain it, matters a lot. Yeah. Yeah. So then conclusion or link to the next paragraph is the same thing. I think we've discussed this, but let's quickly move into a few examples. But before that, I want to quickly confirm, in case you have question or are there things you really want to jump in, please, you are welcome to do so. Do we have any question? any follow-up? I know we've discussed this, but I'm only trying to emphasize quickly as a form to advance, to create a kind of foundation for ideas we want to negotiate. So any questions so far, please, you are welcome to jump in. Or any addition, things you think, oh, perhaps I have missed, you are welcome to join in, please. You can use the mic, just unmute yourself and comment quickly, please. Or you want clarification between these different layers, please do. Or you need a clarification, you want to confirm the transition, at what point does A come in? Please, please, let's not overlook it. You are free to ask questions. I'll be happy to. And also, our friends here, we can negotiate these things together. Question? Okay. You can always interrupt me, don't worry. Okay, there's something on the chat. Okay. Shayi, do you want to use your mic or should I just read?
Yeah, I can use my mic.
Okay, good, please.
Yeah, sorry, I was already typing, so yeah, I was just asking, you mentioned that the paragraph presents an idea, so I wanted to know how many lines makes a paragraph, because I have an idea that, a paragraph can be too short, especially, it depends if you're writing it in a thesis or you're writing it, or whichever way. I don't know I'd like to hear your opinion on this
Okay.
general.
Wow. Thank you so much, Shayi. I think, yes, for some of us who the regulars on this platform, we know this is one of the issues we have explored in the past. So paragraph itself, even from the very idea that it is for one to present an idea, is also very interesting. But the point is, a paragraph, like what we discussed in the previously, let me go to that session. I think you can see it, so we can be on the same page as I use some of the examples we already have to explain this. So it can start from 4, 5, let's say 5. And it also depends on the writer. Hence, today I am, focusing more and also laying emphasis on the idea of creativity and personality. So choice comes in also. Sometimes as a writer, it's just like a composer or somebody who is improvising. So your personality matters in this case. It's your voice. And that's why we are focusing on paragraph as an entry point into the bigger discourse of writing or creative writing, novel, academic, because sometimes some work requires you to use shorter paragraph, depending, and some requires you to use longer paragraphs. You see, in all, it depends on you. If you are a writer, a scholar, but there's a caveat here. In most cases, students write with the guidance of their professors. So on that note, I am going to link whoever is in this position back to his or her professor. I'm going to use my own case. Many years ago, I was writing my research, and I wrote short paragraphs. And that's, the chapter was so huge, but with different layers. I had a lot of, sub-headings trying to help people to understand, because I learned that somewhere also in the writing school. But my supervisor told me, he or she will prefer that I make it longer paragraphs. Yes, so that is he or she's style. So I was told that no, she wants me to, she wants a longer one, because she believes that, what I'm writing for her, most of these paragraphs, they can come together. But coming together is another question, because they are not necessarily the same. Hence, I splitted them into different shorter paragraphs of 5 lines or 6 lines, sometimes 4 lines. But I will recommend 5, 6 for shorter paragraph. But she thinks, oh, you can actually bring them together long. I don't want too much short. Let's have a longer one so we can have quickly drive to the point. But that's also open. I was open to another challenge is ability to convert three different interrelated ideas into one. And that's where the idea of linking words, come in, ideas like transitional word, transitive sentence, So I invested more on this transitioning process for me to be able to, okay, fine. I want to make them talking about 10 lines now, talking about sometimes 11 lines, 12 lines. So there is no one way to it, but what I would suggest, and I recommend for people, even my students in most cases, the idea is very important. Sometimes you can, and if you read some scholars, some of their paragraphs, some are shorter, some are longer in the same writing, the same chapter, in the same magazine, in the same article. Yes, it depends on the move and what you are writing at the time and what you are working on, But on a basic level, keep it simple. Yeah. So by keeping it simple is to have your readers in mind. So I would always start with shorter paragraphs. Let's say between 5, 7. But in most cases, in the process, you get into the mood, you are already established into the mood. Then you can sometimes I will show some examples right now, drawing from different work, my own work also. Yeah. So I don't know if it's not, it's an interesting question, but I also think there is no one answer to it. So hence I'm using my own personal case and experience, But the point is, the essence of a paragraph is to explain one idea. So that idea is the entry point, is what helps you decide, okay, how long do you want to stretch these ideas and how soon you want to move to the next idea. So I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you, bro.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Thank you so much. So let's move on to some of the examples we just discussed right now. Yes, I remember this particular session where we started with Agau. Oh, is this Agau? No. Okay, this is one of the workshops, some of our friends' sessions we have together. Okay, let's move. I want to go to a particular session. That's March 20. Okay, we've done this actually. Okay. Yeah, so this is one of the, okay, this is good. Let's use this again. Yeah. So we want to quickly explore language briefly from this particular example. I'm sure some of us who our regulars, our friends, they remember this particular conversation because as you can see, we already analyze it, what it is and what it stood for, So this is so let's discuss language from here. I'm going to read the paragraph again. So I'm going to copy it out, take it out of that analytical section. Let's make it a new material. So let's take out the topic sentence thing. Let's pretend as if it's not there. So we use this to analyze the idea. Of course, you can always come back to this space and study what we have done, and also in line with the videos on our YouTube page. That's why we have this, we are following this approach. So people can come in and always go back in time to the process. Now, let's look at this idea. Let's read. The idea of African music both mirrors and inflects the collective profile of its land, people, material, and spiritual resources, and overall culture. African music displays a self-evident historical depth together with an astonishing diversity in its sounding, producing objects, languages, ritual affiliation, styles, and aesthetic ideas. Musicking in Africa, borrowing Christopher Small's useful information, is indexed by a variety of terms. We beat, shake, touch, and play. We say, recite, recollect, and sing. And we move, stir the body, look our way, and dance. In speaking of African music, then we do well to keep this expanded semantic horizon in mind. This is Agawu. This is Kofi Agawu. Yes. Then the question is, there are important figure, transitions, linking word, and ultimately strategic use of language to pass message, in this particular paragraph. So Agawu has a way of doing this in a very subtle, smart, and brilliant ways of making something that looks so simple, either complex, or something very complex, so simple. And that's the sample of what we are having here right away. So let's explore this particular, So in terms of language, let's be specific now. Language is an established, okay, it's a way of understanding, of engaging writing. So look at what's happening. Look at the writing itself. There's a strategic play of language here, playing with language. Yeah. Now, for instance, look at the first three words, the idea of, in bracket. Look at that. What does that mean? Then African music both mirrors and inflects the collective profiles of its land, people, materials, spiritual resources, and overall culture. This could be written a different way and still maintain the same meaning. But because of context, I think it settled for this particular expression. And I can tell you, if he had the opportunity of doing this with another journal or another platform, he might, have done it in a different way. You know what I mean? Okay, then the next one, African music displays a self-evident historical depth together with an astonishing diversity in its sounding, producing objects, languages, ritual affiliations, styles, and aesthetics ideal. That is, of course, yes, we have it there. Then the next one is intentional, and you could see the creative approach here. So I'm using this to call our attention to something that we ourselves know about and we do, but we don't pay attention to it in this way. So now, musicking in quote, in Africa, that's a play of word. To borrow Christopher Small's useful formulation. You see the way, if these are all stylistic issues and combined with intentional approach to language experimentation here, and is indexed now by a variety of terms. Look at the colon. We beat, we shake. Now, the colon here could or would have functioned as a full stop. Then it will start another one. For instance, we beat, we shake, you see, but it decided to make it a longer one, adding a colon, to expatiate. And that the function of that colon is to lay emphasis and intentionally retaining the flow and the tension from this, from the beginning of that particular, section. And now giving this somewhat a colloquial examples of we beat, shake, touch, and play, we say, even personalizing it. We say, we recite, we read that. So if you notice from the beginning, there was nothing suggesting, there was no suggestive of personality, of attachment to the idea. But at this point, where he used musicking, then the tone changes a bit into somewhat something foreign, and also putting himself in it, in borrowing whatever index variety form we is writing himself into the process. We shake, we touch and play, whatever, and instantly again, he moved back to the initial, I think it's still there, yeah. And the next one, in speaking of African music, in quote now, then we do well to keep this expanded semantic horizon in mind. So this is a strategic and I think a useful example to negotiate idea of language. People I could, or even Agawi himself, would have written this in a different way and still retain the meaning. And this is where I mentioned earlier, the use of language helps understanding different language and transitioning from a particular way of doing this to the another one is a huge resource that any writer would definitely make sense of at every time you are writing, to communicate different ideas or even the same idea in different way. Do you know that many scholars publish the same ideas across spaces, but the difference is that they use different language? What Agawo has written here, I can tell you of 3 books that we can find these examples also, this particular argument. This is from Imagination in African Music, I think. Yes, let me see the reference we have here. Yes, African Imagination in Music. Yeah, if you read the Represent African Music, that 2003 work, there are phrases like this. If you read chapter 2 or even the first chapter, where he was trying to explain, the 3 layers of African music, the indigenous, the popular, and the hi-hat, if you read that section very well, you could see that he tried to make a kind of pedantic approach like this, to show in Africa, we do this, we do that, we do that, we do that, but in a very, very subtle and a strategic and a smart way, But why are we doing this? It's simply to show ourselves that, okay, through an understanding of language, we could manipulate ideas. And this is where the creative resources, lie, because the rubrics, the tool is understanding that language. Don't worry. I'm sure you want to ask me, or somebody saying, then what is the language? How do I get the language? Don't worry, I will get there. So any question at this time, particularly this idea of language? Any question? Question for clarification or something related that you think we need to work together on also as we move on? Any question? Okay, let's move on. Okay. So then the next one, yeah, the same, we're still working on Agau. This is all about Agau, of course. Let's move to another one. And let's compare the 2 languages. We've used this also, but I'm intentionally using the materials that we have engaged. So I don't want to bring a new material yet. So let's go back to the same material we used to use them to get into another level. So let's check the language here again. So I'm going to take this out again. Then bring it to this level. Now, some of you might have experienced this on many occasions. The challenge is not that you don't have idea. You have idea. But in most cases, the challenge is that we don't even know where to start, how to start the first sentence, Now, talking about moving it forward is sometimes could be very, could be a problem for many people, of course. And this has something to do with your levels of understanding. It's just a kind of human phenomenon. Sometimes you want to start something, you need to process it in a different way to start. Sometimes you need to sleep and drop the book. Sometimes you need to do a lot of reading to get you to, for you to build a bit and start thinking in that way. Yeah, and that's why we're talking about language thing. The language is key in this area, can help and reduce the stress of where do I start? Should I start with this sentence, whatever? Don't worry, I'll get there. Let's look at this example then. Okay, I'm trying to get this now. So why is it not responding? So what's happening here? Okay. So why is this not responding? Okay. Perhaps we need to refresh what's happening. Okay, sorry about that. Just want to refresh quickly and see. Okay. Bam 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 pero. Okay, I think we are back to that same space now. Yeah. Okay, so there's a delay. I don't know, perhaps it's internet or what. Okay, let's go for this. Okay, we use this copy. Oh, okay. Okay, so finally we have it. So we are going to take out the analytical marks we have in for now and convert it, take it back to its original self. Okay, so I think Sheyi asked about the paragraph. So this is an example of what Sheyi was talking about, I think. Yeah. Yeah, so this is a long paragraph. Perhaps what she was. This, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 lines. Exactly. So this is, but the question is, what is the logic of this particular, long, paragraph? Let's read. So we want to read to get the language and to see how different ideas are curated to become one idea. So this ethnography, which integrates individual life stories with the study of performance, seeks to understand the mobile lives of musicians, dancers, and marks performers from Cote d'Ivoire living in the United States. It's a long one already, you can see, long sentence. I have found that music and dance performances, being transportable, fluid, and adaptable, serve as an effective arena for the analysis of human migration. That's the second layer, right? Then the third layer, life story reveals resonances between performative transformations and shifting circumstances in performance mobile lives. Immigrant performers occupy multiple spaces simultaneously. As members, again, you can see the colon. Yes, you can see that colon. Then, as members of an immigrant community dispersed across the United States, they are unmoored from their place of origin and deeply engaged in its symbolic representation to North American audience. Another one, a transition now. Yet, unlike Africans who in earlier times were brought forcibly to the Americas, recently arrived Ivorian immigrants are not disconnected from their homeland. Semicolon now. Rather, they are transnational in motion between continents, constantly in communication with Ivorians at home and around the world. Yeah, the question is, what is going on here? We have 14 lines, which I think is so huge. But within the context of this writing, I think it's perfect, as mentioned earlier. So this is a writer writing from a particular point of view, from engaging his subject. But to do that, to do so entails that he needs to find a way to tell the story that normalize ambiguities. Do you get what I mean? That's open, that created spaces that allow for disconnection, disconnections, ambiguities, and allows for that subtle contradiction. And that's what we see in this particular paragraph. And that is the logic of paragraph and language also. So let's talk about the paragraph first of all. We move to the language, then we now talk about the style. So in terms of this paragraph, it is obviously a long intro to a concept. This is a section in the introduction of a book. Then moving from laying down the foundation, introducing ideas, and also moving into ideas, now downstreaming or bringing it down into specific idea, which is about life story and what life story does, what it helps people to achieve, what it allows people to do. Then the third layer, which is a contrast, now creating a style. Yet, after explaining what happened in America, African migrants, their life in America. Now, also, yet, that's very symbolic. Then the other one is rather. Now, what we have is different ideas, but ability to use linking words to link different ideas is one of the key power of use of language. Most of these ideas will have been detached, but they constitute an interesting layer to this particular paragraph in bringing out the beauty of that writing. So let's go to the language now. This is like a storytelling idea. Yeah, yet sophisticated in the sense that it's an ethnographic, a narrative writing, introducing an idea and also making case for that same idea. And to do that entails that he found a kind of reasonable way to allow his ideas to flow unhindered. And to flow unhindered speaks to mastery. In both cases, both the case of Agawu and this particular case, which is Daniel Reed, is that the use of contradiction to tighten argument is what is at play in this writing. Someone else this will have been another, paragraph or even another statement with full stop here. The same thing we see, in Agawu's writing. So these are the techniques that helps, that brings to life creativity and also establish your own voice, a different language, a different way. So it's a way of, just doing it, but from your own perspective. But you must know the rule and when to use it. So that is the issue. Of course, we can discuss all this. Then towards the end, we see how, lacing, curating together contradiction also. In fact, it becomes so significant the ways in which Daniel Reed in this particular section, intentionally created a kind of commotion. Yeah, but a creative one. Yet, look at the phrasing look at that phrasing and prose. Yet, unlike Africans who in earlier times were brought forcibly to the Americas, recently arrived Ivorian immigrants are not disconnected from their land. We should have a full stop there, but he intentionally kept that flow going on. Rather, they are transnational, and he made all the case towards the end as a closure of the paragraph. I like this. This is a beautiful writing. Yeah, so it is intentional. And don't forget, as mentioned earlier, for you to be intentional, you need to understand the rule. You need to understand the logic, how it works, where it works, So this in the context of ethnographic writing. Okay, there's a question here, I think. Okay. Nika, do you want to use the mics, please? Hello, Nika.
Hello.
Use the mic.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Hello, can you hear me, sir?
Okay, just hold on, please. You can use the mic, Nika.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Definitely.
Okay, yes. My question is concerning language. Like you said, every business or field has, its own language. So I want to know if it's the same thing as terminologies or terms being used in a particular field.
Okay, thanks so much for that brilliant and insightful question. So terminologies are the how I put it now? They are the tools that defines and establish language. For instance, I want to talk about I want to discuss music theory. I want to discuss a piece of music with my choir member. And I decided to want to show them that I'm a scholar. So when I pick up the piece, let's say, for instance, a hymn, I could decide to start, I'm quoting myself now. I could tell them, look, the anacrusis, you see, starting from the anacrusis into the strong beat, we could see the flow of the first two bars in the ways that help us to understand the text better. Do you see that? That is using anacrusis, text, strong beat, bar. Those are terminologies, established terminologies in musicology or music studies. So if I were to write this, so I'm writing within the rubrics of musicology. But if I were to write this for another audience, I would do something differently. From the beginning of the music, the singing starts from a different way, more on a weaker side or note or starting point into a stronger point, because the lyrics, the language of the lyrics makes more sense in terms of sensible, brings about the sensibility from the second, from the entry of the soprano singers or tenor singers. You see, I have said everything without using all those big terminologies. So The second one I just mentioned is for me to write for another general audience, public audience. Or let's say I'm writing in a newspaper. Yeah, I'm writing in a magazine for public consumption, or what we call in public musicology. I'm writing a blog, or I'm writing on Facebook. I'm engaging in material on Facebook, you know. So this is what I mean. So the first one is an established language in musicology. If I were to write that, the second one for musicology, they won't take my article will not fly. Or even if the editor is so kind, he or she is going to change it to the first one. And on the other way, if the first one is submitted to a more cultural or social sciences or humanities, field journals like history, the musicological one might not fly, because they are going to tell you, we don't understand this. Or they are going to tell you it will bore our reader, because you will need to keep explaining all this terminology every now and then, and that bores people. I'm not sure if this makes sense to you.
It does.
Yes. So that is it. That is what we mean by language. So it is ability to understand different contexts in your writing. Of course, there is you also need to be intentional, of course, and that was establish your voice. So we can also combine the two. If like what Agawo did, Agawo combined the two. You can see the first example. So it's the ability to combine technical language and also instantly in that same line, take your reader back to yourself and to themselves. That's what Agawo did with the first one, which I love so much. That section where he wrote about, look at that section. Where is it? That section where, okay, this is not Agawo. Let's go to Agawo at the top. Yeah. Look at that section where we have, no. Yes, so that section where he has musicking in quotes. That's a typical, musicological, ethnomusicological style language. But instantly, towards the end, he decided not to close it. Yeah, he decided to keep it open and expand. But the expansion is now we, bringing it down to the common people quickly. You can see within one line, sentence, it transitioned from the established musicological language down to the common everyday language that everybody we can connect to, even from the people he's writing about. When they read it, that area speaks to them. That is what we're talking about, the politics of language. So what Agawi is doing is try to be inclusive, to bring people together, to write for different audience. So within one paragraph, within one sentence, he's bringing different technicalities, different people, different school of thought together, bringing them together on the same line. It's one of the greatest things any writer can do for his reader. And do you know what? This is what in the current, today, this is what people are looking for, because even in the professional world, they want you to speak to the professional world and also relate to the common everyday people. Yeah, because even many professional materials, reading and tests, they are also useful for the everyday life, to the public, for educational purposes. So it is important for writers, many of us, to think like this. When you want to talk about musical science, whatever, you can start from somewhere, and towards the end, make sure you are not closing it. So you won't throw away the common people. And that's what Agawu did with that colon. And also what Daniel Reed also did with that colon also. For me, this is These are examples of beautiful writing, very considerable. Okay, can we take one more example or any question so far? Thanks so much, Nika. Question?
Hello?
As we...
Yeah, I
Yes.
have a question.
Okay, please.
Sorry. Yeah, so I wanted to ask about what's your what's your thought about M dashes, especially like in where this where Reed puts his comma, where you said it could have been a comma there. What do you think about M dashes? Like, let me write what I meant.
Let me show you. Is this what you mean? Something like this. Can you see the
Let
screen?
me see. No, I'm coming. Sorry.
Is this what you mean?
Yes, usually, yeah, maybe usually longer than that. Yeah.
Yes, of course, like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the option on the, yeah. So I feel like sometimes I want to use this comma, but sometimes I think it resonates better to use M dashes because it gives this kind of continuous argument or but sometimes is it just better to use the full stop because I mean I try to use it well, but again, most times if you keep using M dashes, you might just have a lot of M dashes instead of commas. Also, the second thing I wanted to ask, not a question really, is the article we just read, the one talking about these transnational communities and migration. Um, I wanted to ask which book is that? Yeah.
Oh, that's Daniel Reed's 2016 Abidjan, America. That's the name.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Daniel Reed 2016.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, I agree. Thank you so much, Sheyi, and I agree with you. So the point is that colon and the end dashes, I think they do the same work. Yes. What it enables you to expand, to continue, to create a kind of, to allow the reader to transition from one initial idea to another idea without breaking. It's a continuous. You want to, okay, you are writing this, but you feel, okay, I still have a lot to say, but those ones are more like extension. Then you can use the end dash or colon. So the choice between the two, what to use at a particular time, is also contextual. And also, if you are working with editors, every journal, every book, every magazine you want to write, they have their own laws and principles regarding all these little stylistic issues. These are all stylistic matter. So in the case of Agawu and Daniel Reed, perhaps the editor, that is what the book or the platform allows. In most cases, you will see such transition with end that those end that what do we call them? Is it trying to get? Yes, let's just call it end dashes for now. I can't remember what it is, but I also use it a lot. I prefer it than colon. Yeah. Let's see. We have another question here. Okay, M dash is here. Thank you. Yeah. So that is just the point, I think. But it's also depending on who is writing and why you are writing. Who are you targeting? The audience also matters. Some people will not understand the M dashes, in a way that you want. They won't get your message, and some will rather, want you to stop at full stop. It helps them to start again, to connect, and some. But in whole, it is depending on how you as a writer engage. That's where the style, the style comes in, your personal voice, your personal discovery of the people you are writing for, and the best way to connect with them. These are the underlying logics of establishing personal identity as a writer. How you tell stories. These things are very important. Punctuations, they help you. They are part of the language you're talking about. Apart from the technicalities that shape your field and who you are writing for, your community, your practice communities, professional communities. The use of punctuation, out when to rest, the speed of reading, the speed of writing is very, very important, because you are writing, but you're also thinking of your friend reading that material. Is it comfortable for them? Would they be able to read 3 paragraphs and they won't drop your article or your book? These are the things that comes into your mind. And that's why you see some writers, they will prefer short paragraph, because they are writing for, if you see most novels, they are writing with short paragraph or storybooks, because they know they want you to enjoy it. They want you to have, so they keep it simple with just short paragraph, and that's okay for them. But in academic discourse, we like something very technical. So people, in most cases, will stretch it. But for the brilliant writers, you see them stretching it, but also keeping your attention going in their choice of word, how they bring technical ideas together and basic ideas that the common man will not need to think to understand. Any question, Chris? Okay, I think let's come back to this now. Let's open. So in case you have any question, please, the floor is open. Then we need to do a few hands-on experience examples. Let's use the 2 examples also. Okay, the question is, at what point, how do we start? How do you start? The starting point is key in your writing. You have the idea, of course, you've been reading. And also, I need to tell you, like I mentioned earlier, what sustains your writing? What sustains you in every, let's say you lay down the first line of a paragraph and you need to continue. What sustains you is not the knowledge you are getting right now from this place. It is your reading. First of all, you need to have done your reading. There's something called pre-compositional consideration. Sorry, I'm talking about composition today. I used to live in that word many years ago. So in composition, before you start writing, you have something called things you consider. In most cases, you write all these things down. You write them down. Okay, I want to do this. I want to use Apala rhythm in this section. Oh, from this section, I want to use Beethoven and this. So you put all these things, you keep them. It's like setting your table. The same thing we have for the same thing for painters. Painters also have that. They have all the materials, all the colors needed, whatever. They prepare their table. The same thing for writer. And in your own case, what are your writing process? The readings. You have read at least, let's say, 10 to 15 articles, or 5 or 10 or 8. You have read all these things and you now want to write. So your ability to take notes, the notes you have taken, on the one hand, they are very important. Also, because you have read all these articles, and I can tell you, either directly or directly, you have engaged those materials. And there are other take-homes, like phrasing, how your writers, how they phrase, how your writers use punctuation mark to make sense, like what we have just explained today. These are basic things that on a normal day you won't discover, you won't know what they are doing, their function there. But they have something they are doing for you, the reader. So these are the techniques that you also need to focus on. When do I use M dash? When do I use colon? When do I use semicolon? At what point do I need to create a kind of like what Daniel Reed did in this particular section you can see on the screen. Yeah, he has finished the article, the paragraph actually, but he intentionally expand. How do you expand on ideas? Sometimes you can create drama. It is allowed. Don't forget, it's a creative intention. This is not a robotic thing. It's not a formulaic thing. It's creativity. And the more you engage, you intentionally create some crisis and resolve it by yourself. It is allowed. That's what makes you a writer. And even with that, you have the power to understand the language better, because the language is rooted in your profession. If you are a composer, there are languages, there's this fear of terms, how phrases are constructed, what you say at they have it. In ethnomusicology, they have it. In musicology, they have it. Anthropology, they have it. Sound studies, they have it. But overall, what brings all these differences together is your creativity. You can use all of them in one paragraph or in one article, depending on your understanding and how the usability, how you are able to bring them into place. So reading is the key. Then you also need to measure what you are reading. If the kind of things you are reading determines the kind of things you are going to write. If you are the type that reads predator journals, I can assure you that you are going to get good ideas that will help you. You need to read mainstream journals where people are, like Agawu are publishing, where your professors are publishing. So that is what you do. And by doing that, automatically you are inserting yourself in that professional practice. And when you read, the language will come naturally, because that is where you belong. You read materials with them, you engage them. Yes, your language will develop in that sense. But if you are the type that is reading anything goes, those predated online journals, I cannot assure you. I know I can't assure you. Go online, read journals, reputable platform. That's it. You can't detach that reality. Hence, I said earlier, what we are discussing today has a lot to do from your own end. We've done a lot about these materials, talking about them. But right now, we are now entering your own stage of the deal by pointing you, read this, this, and this. Reading is key. Writing does not flow if you have not read. It's what you take in that you give out. It's a law of nature. If you are taking in Facebook reading, you can't write a standardized article. Sorry, I need to use that example. You are the type that consume Facebook, just WhatsApp reading or motivational articles. I'm sorry, that is what you are going to be writing. You can't write serious article or even novel or book. You can't, because that's what you are consuming. Can I tell you something? Do you know most of the people who write motivational books, or let's use preachers or religious people, for instance, you see them when they discuss their materials, you see them on the podium, they are also referencing standard established writers. Yeah, they also read wide. So the same thing, even your professors, they read the professional thing, they also read fictions. You read fictions. You read fictions, you read playwrights, you read plays. Yes, read plays. Yes, look at the playwrights, good, smart playwrights around you. Read their work. Look at the smart novelists around you. Read their work. Look at the smart, bloggers. Read their work also. And it is this creative pool that will shape your own understanding and your positionality within your own professional field. Storytelling. Writing is about storytelling. You tell a story. So in your first paragraph, you want to win your reader. You don't want them to read the first paragraph and just drop and move. No. No, you don't want to do that. You want to keep them glued to that seat. Look at the Agao and even the Daniel Reed we just read right now. There's no way I'm going to read this and I would definitely want to continue, because I love the phrase, I love everything. It's like telling a story to me. The story is strange. It is also familiar. That's how you write. You make extreme things that are extremely complex. You make it familiar to people through your storytelling. I think, yeah. Let's open now. Let's open now. Any question to start with? Question. Please use the mic, please. Use your.
I wanted to.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm coming to. Yeah.
No problem.
I wanted to add something. You mentioned, sorry, you mentioned that we should always think about, what's the word? Always build on an idea. So I wanted to say also that something I think I learned in my first year is that understanding which idea to build on and which idea to just leave. Because I remember there was a paper I wrote, like, and I think I built on a very wrong idea. Not because it's wrong, but it was not necessary. Whereas there are other ideas that I can actually build on to, add up to my paragraph. So I thought I should let that out. That I think also in building up idea, I think it's having to understand which one should be built on, which one should just stay the way it is. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, I think we mentioned this earlier also. Context matters. So sometimes you want to explore, you have many ideas, of course. It is by default that as human being, we have ideas, we encounter things every day. And even within our professional practice, particularly if you are one of those who have read a lot, you always find yourself in that position of crisis or time of crisis where you have all these big ideas. And that is where what we call in writing, which we are going to talk about, mind map. You map your ideas before writing. I was talking about compositional consideration, pre-writing considerations. You need to, before writing, take a paper and put the title of your work in the first introduction, what ideas you want to nurture, for how many paragraphs. Then in the big section, in the development article, what are the ideas I want to nurture? Your data, in the conclusion. In all this, you are going to also outline the voices that will help you make your assertion clear. The voices that will help you defend your argument. That's the role of mind mapping. Perhaps that will be our next, the focus of our next writing session. Mind mapping, structuring is very, very important. So that's how to, negotiate the crisis of having too much to say for a little thing, like I said, keep it simple. So you always have many ideas, definitely, but the discipline and ability to use what is necessary at every time is what makes a good scholar. Discipline is there also. Sometimes you just feel, I want to show this thing. Okay, we have Modukwe. Can we have you, please?
Thank you very much, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. So I just wanted some clarification. So is it safe to say that your language is audience dependent without losing sight of your style, your personal style, or your personal, your proclivities, so to speak?
Okay, thank you so much. Well, language, style, they interconnect, they build on each other. There's no way you have a grasp of language in writing that you won't understand style, because language itself is built upon stylistic ideas, different styles, even in the every profession, like what we explained earlier, what I explain is style. And that's where those technical terms comes in. I can use that style to explain whatever. But the style itself is also a curatorial material. They help you to navigate, to expand the language. They help you to make it sensible to people. If you are using some technical word now, you can help people to understand, like what Agawu did and this Samuel Daniel Reed did. What they did is to use style to curate their language, to make it less painful, mitigate the problem of professional, ideas and everyday basic ideas. So the role of style here is to help your language meaningful, to provide meanings for your language. And also, your language is also helps you, it propagates who you are. So both of them, they shape your identity as a writer. That's why you see some people, they open with storytelling. I love storytelling. And it is telling this story that I am establishing my character, what I want to say. And while doing that, not losing sight of my professional commitment and requirement as a scholar, as a writer, as an analyst, as whatever I'm writing for. So the first thing for me is the story, which is the style. The story, the language comes in later after the story. Yeah, then the style. And all these are rooted within different disciplines considering the audience I'm writing for. But I'm always advancing from a particular position, either professional position or business position in the writing or whatever. If I'm writing for grant application, for instance, I am advancing from the lens of who I'm writing for, the granting body. They're not going to give me money if I'm there to go and perform my musicology or scientist, gymnastic. They won't give you the money. But I'm going to advance from their own positionality. What do they like? What are the kind of writing that I've seen on their web or their history? You will have done some background work. You will have read some grants that have been funded by these organizations. Or even go to their website and read their archive. There are many things that will show you the kind of things they want to see in terms of writing style, their communication ideal. Every organization have the ways of communicating and what they believe in. Banks, media houses, they all have different, even academic institutions, funding body, bank. So the same thing you must do before even writing. So the moment you establish this reality, okay, this is how these people communicate. This is the kind of communication that they subscribe to. Then instantly you are wearing your creative cap to launch into that style and write in that style. Yeah, ability to do that validate you as a writer. Then you become relevant to them because you are already keen into their reality. They see you as in person. Oh, this is good. You are communicating to their essence, not going there to go and telling them about the grammar of your field and they can't even understand. Yeah, so that I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. So in all, it's about understanding you as a writer, as a scholar. Before writing, I want to understand my audience better. What do they want to see? Who are they? Yeah. And when I mean audience can be your examination panel. Audience can be your supervisor. Audience can be your professional field body. Audience can be the publication house that needs to publish your book. Audience can be the journal editor and the editorial board of the journal, what they want to see. Those are the audience. In terms of play, whatever, audience can be the society, depending. Audience is not necessarily people who got, no. It can be, audience can be your exam committee, and they are the people you are writing for. So whenever you are writing, you must put them in your first side. They are the people you are writing for. So that is the power of communication. You are communicating to them by using what they understand, not what you think you should give them. So the communication starts from them. And the style, it is now your own understanding of styles that drives the language further, that makes it so subtle for them to engage. And that's what distinguishes you between others that are writing, your ability to make sense of anything through understanding of basic stylistic elements like what we have seen today. How to create tension and resolve within the same writing. It's like a bait. You know that these people, they have good people, many good people. So for you to be spotlighted, you need to play some gymnastic without showing them, without too much impressing it on them. Just be real for yourself and establish yourself and do what you know how to develop. They will see it and they will call you forth. Wow, this is beautiful. Oh, this is great. The point is there is nothing new in life. There's nothing new. What is new is that your language and your style, your creativity. And that's why you can't negotiate yourself. You can't shoot yourself in the foot by trying to be like somebody. Of course, university, your professor, they want you to be great. They will teach you within the university, but you also need to discover yourself by not limiting yourself to what they say. You need to think, okay, who am I? Where am I going to? Where am I seeing myself? What are the kind of conversations I want to be having or want people to know me to be? These are the kind of things that also shape your language. You can write in the same field in a way that everybody wants to read you. I can tell you this free of charge. Everybody likes reading Kofi Agawu, even if it doesn't make them feel comfortable. They acknowledge his subtle writing style and language. Even if it's it's always on their neck, challenging, but they still acknowledge that this guy writes so well. This guy can write well. They still acknowledge. So that is the kind of writer you want to become. Look, the point is not about the problematics you are talking about. The point is you showing yourself through your writing. Sometimes you don't want to reach that person, but because you know there's something unique, let me just go for that reason. That's it. Sometimes it's not even about the content you're talking about. But people want to read you because they know they will learn something new in your writing, the way you place things, they know. So some people read for style, not just for the content, because the content is all over there. What on earth do you want to say that people have not heard today? Even let's talk about music, for instance. Are you the one who wants to discover African music? Or are we the one who wants to talk about jazz to the world, or even Mozart? But listen, the reality is that you can write about Mozart today and you still become the bestseller. What is the difference? The difference is your ability to master the tool of communication. Any question as we round up for today? Question? So writing is a huge currency. Of course, people might say, well, why is he trying to teach me how to write? No, they're just calling our attention to the reality. Even in the scholarly world, it is a visa to whatever you want to do, promotion, whatever. It is a visa to sustain that career and to make yourself useful to that career and the profession. And that's why we are doing what we are doing. Of course, our focus is for undergraduates, early career scholar, but it's open to everybody that cares to know, So that's just it. So any question as we round up today? Okay. I'm going to stop sharing for a while. Then I will definitely, okay. 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 So any question as we round up, please? So any question, you are welcome to, particularly, like I said, it's about language today. And of course, we couldn't do most of, as promised, the hands-on thing. But as mentioned, we have a space. This writing board is there 24/7. You are always welcome to go there, and we will see and give feedback as usual, or read what you are trying to, the concept. So the writing session, what we have done is simply to have a meeting. The real work continues, where people know where, people belong to the group, and we do all things we do, at least to keep the conversation going. So in case you are interested, of course, you can join the group. Here is the group, our writing lab. So we have a group for this writing lab where we discuss and also planning to have other activities to strengthen the initiative. So you can join us, it's free, you can join. But the question is, when you join, please, it's not a group in that sense. It's a writing space. So when we give assignment, you do. When we do things, it's for collective good, actually. Yeah. So thank you so much. Any question? Hello, question. Okay, while we are waiting for that, I want to share our okay, let's share the YouTube link for those who don't know. So you can also go there and check most of the materials. And again, the YouTube link itself is a space where we curate ideas. We curate ideas and also document most of this initiative for people to have access. Access is key. So when we do this kind of research on this kind of conversation, we document them, we curate them also, and share it with the community, both local and the global space for engagement. So you can follow us on that link and follow most of the research and the works we are doing. We are still, of course, we have a series of projects coming on, and we're also having a special conference in July. Hopefully by the end of this week, you will get the invite. Please submit. It's about Nigerian music, African art music, the engaging the future, engaging the dynamic of the practice and the economy. So we are interested. We are inviting you. Of course, you will get the call. Hopefully by any time from now or tomorrow, you will get a call. Please, we are looking forward to having you. It's going to be a kind of hybrid symposium, international symposium, where you can join from wherever you are. You can also, we'll be happy to welcome you to the organ house also at Prayer City. So just look forward to that, and we'll be glad to, engage further on that. Follow us online, and you are welcome to send in comments and things you think, okay, we need to do. Lastly, our reading session meeting from next month is going to focus on another book. So we are opening the options to everyone, wherever you are. Are there books you want us to read together? Ideas that you want us to share, to explore together? Or are there composers, writers, who you think, oh, their works will be relevant to this kind of agenda? Our agenda is to push and sustain knowledge that empowers on the continent, particularly from the Nigerian perspective, to sustain a kind of music knowledge that empowers the scholar, the community, and the global world. By that, we mean advancing music scholarship for collective development, while we are also maintaining the rigor of scholarly enterprise. That is what we do. So in case you have any scholar you want to recommend, or any books you think fits into this kind of engagement, we are open to you. Kindly send us the name. We'll definitely consider it and be part of our consideration for the next session, or the next episode or series of reading session we're having on this platform. So the next writing session will continue definitely on our platform. You can join the platform, then we'll continue the conversation there. So thank you so much. Thank you. It's been an interesting moment today. Look forward to our next meeting for the writing session, hopefully on a different topic, because what we did today was to emphasize some of the things we did earlier, and also drawing out some things that we couldn't discuss earlier, because at the time we are yet to reach that stage. So now we intentionally call out those sections, particularly language and style is key in sustaining our narrative here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. See you next week.